Hi, everyone. I'm Ninar, and this is Katrien. And thank you for joining us and watching The Art of Being Women. This is our officially first show, and we're going to be discussing love because we are just doing this right after Valentine's, and we figured the entire month of February is about love. Now, if you watched our pilot, you remember that we have two different social backgrounds, Katrine and I, and different life path up until today, and including the present time. So I hope that we bring different perspectives to you, and I hope that as our community grows, this would be beyond just a dialogue between the two of us, and that you would get to be, engaging with us and sending us your thoughts and your comments. So I've prepared a few things based on my background, as I said. As I was researching this theme, Katrine, the first things that popped to my mind was based on my reality, which is how challenging it is to find love or even be in a relationship after 40 and after 50. How even more challenging it is to commit for the first time, as I've never been married. I found myself thinking about the different aspects of love, the new, redefined love in the modern times, and the science of love. Because when you go deep into self-care and as you gain wisdom with life, you learn about the science of love as well. And so you realize how wrong you were when you were much younger, thinking of so many things, mistaking them for love. But before I start, as we say, we consider the married one the expert ones on love. So I'll start with you. There's a famous book. I don't know if you heard of it. It was very popular in Europe. It's in French, and it was called L'amour dure 3 ans. Love lasts 3 years. I know you've been married, touch wood,
26,
for many more than 3 years. Um,
26.
what do you think? Do you think love grows with time, or do you think it dies out? Or what's the balance? What's the secret here?
Well, I think it depends whom you're talking to, obviously. Sometimes people see older people, older or middle-aged people, and they think that, they've been a couple for a long, long time, and they think, oh, well, look at them, they look so good together, and so on. But they seem to forget that in those 20, 30, even 10 years and more than that, there's been a lot of commitment and there's been a lot of phases. So I don't think that we can just say, oh, 10 years of marriage is this, 20 years of marriage is that, 30 years of marriage is that. Obviously, you have to work on it. Loving is a verb. You can't just imagine that it's just going to come falling out of the sky, because that's not the case. It's a lot of work. It's putting up with a lot of each other's faults. It's also forgiveness. And anybody who ever tells me that they have the perfect marriage, I do not believe that. There is no such thing, I think, as a perfect marriage. It's a work in progress every single day. But when it works, it's very worthwhile. And you have to have each other's back, and you have to be able to say, look, I will always be here for you in the good and in the bad days, which was one of the original vows that we had, of course. So I would say there is no definition to a successful marriage or long-term relationship.
So it's definitely a non-linear path that could go up and down, but I think I can conclude that you're saying it needs nurturing, and that with nurturing, this is how at least it stays glued, despite all the phases, because we grow as people, and it's a relationship that, just by being a marriage has its own weight, the label of it, where and here I would like your insights on it. Would you say in the old days they used to brag that it takes sacrifice? Do you like the use of the word sacrifice
Sacrifice?
or
No,
compromise? What does it take?
I would never use the word sacrifice. I don't think I have ever had the feeling that I sacrificed my life for my marriage. Compromise, yes. Obviously, there have been times when I didn't feel like doing things and I knew it was important to my spouse, so I did it anyway. And I'm sure it was the other way around as well, that he has done plenty of things for me that he really didn't feel like doing, and he did then anyway. So, no, definitely not sacrifice.
So you
But
would
when I talk
compromise, but
about
not
it,
sacrifice.
no, not sacrifice, compromise, yes. Um,
Okay.
Another thing is also that you go through different steps in a marriage. If, for example, you have children, all of a sudden that marriage changes because all of a sudden you don't just take care of each other anymore, you take care of the children. And so your lives change, and then your children grow up, and you have to take them to activities, and you have to their school activities, and right? So that marriage kind of starts to focus on different things than the marriage itself. And then you get in a different phase. And then the children grow up. And then the children move out of the house and they start to lead their own lives. And then all of a sudden, you found yourselves to be empty nesters again in the house, just like you were before you had children.
Is
And
is that a phase where love gets renewed or refreshed?
I think it depends from couple to couple. I think if there is an openness and an awareness of this is what's going to happen, the children are out of the house and our life is going to look differently. What are we going to do? Are you going to just do whatever you feel like doing? Am I going to do whatever I feel like doing? Or are we going to try and find ways to fill up the emptiness basically that children leave behind as they are, spreading their wings and go out into the world. Yeah. But I think communication there is an incredibly important word.
Yeah,
I see how many people fall in a trap of not being able to communicate with their spouse and not daring to have those more difficult conversations of, yeah, our family is not just about the children anymore.
of course, definitely. Yes. And I think communication is key in all types of relationships, even more as a prerequisite to, an ongoing healthy relationship.
Mhm. Mhm. So, having spoken a little bit about my background, I have a lot of friends that are in the same situation as I am, being, they're in a long-term relationship or marriage. They've had children, the children left the house, and they have either stuck it out together or they ended up apart and ended up divorcing in their 50s or their 60s, even sometimes. I
There's
have no clue,
So you're saying
right?
there's no recipe. Yes.
Yes, yes. They have no clue, or I have no clue what it is like, because I have been I married when I was 33, um, but I have no clue what it would be like to be dating in my 40s and in my 50s. And I have another friend who is also single or who was single for a while. So I have heard a lot of stories from her. So I have a little bit of an idea what it might be like, but why don't you shed some
I,
light on that?
I was going to say, you really think that I've got anything interesting? I would have loved to tell you how dating looks like, except I'm not dating. And
Yeah.
I want to start with the word dating actually, because it's funny. I heard it somewhere, either in a movie or in an interview, and it struck me. Someone was saying, I don't want to use this word. I don't like it because words are our realities, and it's more seeing someone because dating makes it casual. So it's more like seeing someone for the natural purpose of evolving into a relationship. But that detail aside, the stereotype is true. What they say, it becomes harder and harder. And this is because of so many factors. First of all, it's not that we become more difficult or pickier, or really, hard to comprehend or handle because we've been living on our own, independent and self-sufficient, etc. It's because we know what we want. We've gained certain wisdom, and we really know what we want. And, we are even more intelligent on that level. So when you meet someone, it doesn't take the same amount of time to figure out if that person is a decent person. And, if you're not into wasting your time, then you don't carry on, being with someone there's no brain chemistry with, there's no deep conversations, you're not what they're looking for, or they're not what you're looking for. And it's even harder once, let's say, you meet that person, committing, say, getting married, or really moving forward with a relationship to a level of commitment, especially, for instance, in my case, if you haven't been married before and if you don't have children. Very simply put, you don't have the experience of how to do this. You really have been too independent and too alone and comfortable. You've come to a point where you're really comfortable, and you start thinking you're seeing it fail as an institution in society. You see your friends divorce, so you're not getting a very good impression about marriage either. You have emotional baggage like everyone else, and you have that wisdom. So how do you weigh them? I think it's really meeting someone with a lot of harmony and common ground, who's gonna, meet you halfway in handling that fear. And it's not fear of commitment, but it's a good answer to the question, is it worth the risk? Because you're really, really putting, your comfort and peace uh, at play. And I say that this is the first time, I mean, this decade, the 40s, is the first time in my life, and I'm being very, very honest and genuine, that I am happy as a single person. Ironically, it came after my health crisis. And funny enough, it was a weird, reaction. At first, I was very scared. Again, like I said, I don't have fear of commitment, but after I was cured, I was like, I never want to get married. I never want to be in a relationship. My health is much important. I don't want to be disappointed. I don't want to be heartbroken, etc., etc. Then that faded out, thank God. But now it's with more confidence that you go like, if it's not the added value I'm looking for, is it worth it? Is it worth really? Because I do think of my health, my well-being, and my actual health. Is it really worth it? People are going to disappoint you no matter what. So, and this is where you start thinking of different types of love, and you start really considering what you hear and what you read. Like, I mean, can you get to love someone? Can you get used to someone? Is it romantic love? Is it companionship? How much romance? And there's no right answer.
Yeah,
There's no right
yeah.
answer. Plus, on the commitment level, there's a lot of also social pressure and judgment and labels from society, and these I don't like. Like, for instance, I remember, like, even if you were thinking of it, there's so much. If let's say you meet someone, and if you're thinking, oh, it might work out, and yeah, I like the idea of getting married, it's nice, it's my right, then all of the social labels will come in your face. The bad education from cinema and books and TV, that, I mean, really getting married after 40, wearing a dress after 40. And if you remember the first movie of Sex and the City, it was out in 2008, when Carrie Bradshaw is going to get married, and Vogue
Her
decided
big
to
white
do
dress.
a cover about her. And the Vogue editor is like, style, yes, bride, no.
Yes.
These things
Yeah.
come to you, and you, okay, what if I still want to wear a big dress, or,
Well, yeah, for example, so I was 33 and I felt already the same way too. Like, what am I going to do? This, big, huge Cinderella type dress. So instead, well, first of all, I had a Vera Wang dress, which was very sleek fitting, had a big, huge slit, which I thought was appropriate, for a 30 something. Then I got pregnant. So the very tight-fitting slim dress was no longer going to fit very well with the growing tummy. And then I had to change, wedding dresses. So I ended up wearing a Grace Kelly like, tight top and then but a bigger skirt so I could hide my tummy as much as I was able to. But there is some truth to it when you're in your 30s, and I'm sure also in your 40s, this whole idea of these big weddings and that you question that. Now, where you said you haven't been dating for quite a while?
No, I mean, you know what I've been through for the last few years, and with a lot of travel also, and not being really in one place. And then mainly for that reason, but even before it was for different reasons. You meet people, and it seemed that men close to my age don't want anything serious, and it seemed that they always don't want to be in, again, back to these labels, in an exclusive relationship. And when you're not into, when you're someone who wants to be with just one person, and you're serious about that, this is how you feel, this is how you're comfortable in relationships. I mean, you really, it's very hard to find someone.
Yeah, that's very
um,
interesting because I hear that from other single friends as well, that
yes.
it's hard to find people who want to be committed to one person.
Yes, and again, it's not like, I mean, maybe when I was in my 20s, we have so many more hormones and emotions, and our brains are wired differently. Maybe we thought there was love at first sight. I want to ask you about that. We fell in love faster. But now, again, I mean, you look at a person, you cannot but think and analyze if they're good for you or not. So things take time. And with time, you're discovering all their secrets or bad habits. But honestly, I don't know if there is love at first sight, or if it's a conscious choice. I've heard that it has to do with brain neuroscience, the hormones.
Smell, smell.
Yes, and sometimes even they say the crushes is just our own projection on a person. I
Yeah.
hate crushes. Oh, if that answers you, I've been through crushes.
Oh, so
I
there
don't
you
know crushes.
go. So
Yeah, I
no
don't know if they
dates.
count.
Well, why don't you tell me about your crushes then? So the crushes just basically dissipated or they disappeared?
Oh my gosh, thankfully. Now at least I recognize them. And this is when I digged into this research. Like, is someone taking rent-free, living rent-free in your mind? That's your projection. That helped me a lot, because it's insane. And I think it's true. You do project. They've been, I don't want to like give out details in case someone is watching. But they've been people who are somehow similar to me, or similar to my aspirations, even though they're men, but they're like fulfilled and have achieved dreams, in whether in my industry, in my field, that I aspire to, that I haven't been there yet. And you add to it the chemistry, if they're like handsome, or the confidence that you get if they're secure and well established, and all of that. And usually it's about a few weeks of like,
The alarm bells going off.
yeah. So crushes, yes. But
Crushes. But do you think that that too has something to do with age, that you're just more careful? Or have you always been like that?
no, I don't think I'm careful. I just see things so clearly. Now, maybe after my health crisis, I'm really more careful, like really, really more careful. But before, I was the type of always giving chances, and even like counting them. Okay, this is only the second chance, maybe a third chance, maybe a fourth chance, maybe this, maybe that, under the pretext of I don't want to be called picky, under the pretext of, no one's perfect. But I learned that your gut feeling is really always right,
Yep.
always
Yep.
right.
Yep.
Um, Maybe if they're not a projection, crushes are, that time and space where you still really need to feel raw, you know,
Yep.
and attracted to someone without, auto censorship from anything. So it's nice, but sometimes it can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
What about you? Do you believe in
Love
was
at first sight.
was it love at first sight?
Yeah, for me, it definitely was love at first sight. And I can explain to you exactly how it happened. I was sitting waiting in a hallway in a university in Boston, and I was supposed to meet a guy that I was very interested in professionally. And then all of a sudden, I see this gorgeous creature walking down the stairs, heading in my direction. And I remember I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, that must be like the most gorgeous guy I've ever seen in my life. And here was the interesting part of it. He did not resemble at all the people that I had been dating before. Not at all. So it's not like I could have said, oh, this guy was just my type, because he wasn't my type. I had always dated people who were looking differently. But anyway, yes,
Or
as
first
soon as
attraction?
yeah, so there was definitely something there. Um, and then it kind of we started off as colleagues, friends, whatever, and then bit by bit it started to evolve into something much more, which we will get back to because we had a long distance relationship for quite a while, for 2 years actually, and that was a good test of where the feelings are as well. Because if you cannot commit yourself in a long distance relationship, then you may as well not do it at all, because that is really a waste of time. Yeah.
Do you believe long distance relationships today? Would you see any of your friends? Do you see them working out? Because honestly,
I yeah.
I'm not sure about them either. Sometimes they feel like they're the only type that's working, and that's scary and tricky. It's because the people are really, not overwhelming each other and not seeing the entire truth, but then again, they're hard to, let's say they're both genuine and sincere, they're hard to maintain.
Yes, that was very hard. And for us, it's not like it was a 1 hour plane ride, right? It was 7 hours. And at some point, we were doing Fridays. And I was lucky because I had a very flexible job where I was teaching. So I would be able to kind of work around my work schedule. And I would leave the Friday and then come back the Sunday to start teaching again on the Monday morning. But this was going to the United States. This was not just, a half hour or a 2 hour plane ride to Spain
Long.
or Italy, whatever. Yeah, I mean, this was a really, it took a lot of commitment to do that. And then towards the end, it just became impossible because we saw each other every other week. So either I would be doing the trip or my husband would be making the trip. And that's the point where we said, okay, we can't keep on doing this. So I do think if it is the right relationship and if it is meant to be, because there's also this factor of meant to be, then I do think people can definitely work it out. But obviously, it takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of willingness to give up certain parts of your life in order to be together.
It is a commitment by itself, the type of relationship. I wanted to ask
Yeah.
you, since you met in the US, but you had your whole life and world in Belgium, so you must have come together with so many differences. But were they also, would you consider them opposites, like opposites attract? Was that what attracted you to Dr. Scott? Or was it, and is that really, do you think that builds love and relationships? Or do you believe, are you one of those who believes more in harmony and common ground?
I definitely believe in harmony and common ground and having each other's back and supporting one another and listening to each other. Definitely. The common ground, you don't always have to have a common ground. Like it is possible to have differences and differences of opinions on things. You don't always have to get along. But for me, it's the understanding between one another that is the most important uh, the most important thing, and the willingness also to commit to one another.
Yes, that's
Does
what
that?
I more than common ground, like harmony. Because when
Yeah.
you say opposites attract, it's a little bit, too much arguing. And, in the young ages,
Yeah.
it was portrayed also like,
Oh,
wow, this
yeah.
is wild love. And this is
I,
you.
I don't think at this point in my life, I don't think I could deal with wild love anymore. And we laugh sometimes because sometimes I say, oh, if something would happen to you, there's no way I would want another guy in my life again. It's too much work. And anyway, they would think, oh, she's been too spoiled. So, by this other guy, we can never live up to, what this other guy has done for her. So yeah, it's it's actually a good feeling when you have that one person in your life that is a constant and that you are committed to one another. It is. It's a good feeling. And I don't, the games, and that's why I'm thinking I would have a hard time dating in my 50s because I hear all these stories about games that are being played, or like you say, very often there's no willingness for commitment. I don't think I could do that. I hate games and friendships too. I just want it to be straightforward and clear.
Yes, same here. I think we are running out of time. Wow, this is some
Yeah.
big subject. We should have, I don't know if I'm sure mo most of the points we wanted to talk about, we can get to discuss
Yes.
them in different
Yeah.
shows as well. We have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
But
Because there's some.
yes, before we leave, I wanted to ask you one final question. What would you say to your younger self on love?
Ooh, that's a good question. That's kind of off the cuff. Stick it out. Stick it out.
As in,
If
like, have guts, be courageous?
Yeah, have guts, but also when things don't go well for a while, try. Because if you don't try, you will never know if it could have worked out.
Mhm.
So don't just walk away. I feel that a lot of these younger people nowadays, there's so much social media influence and movies and entertainment, and I feel like maybe they don't want to work on relationships anymore. And it takes a lot of work, whether it is a partner or whether it's friendships. It takes a lot of work.
And on that
So,
note, it was, yeah, sorry not to interrupt you, but I want to try and just mention this one point because it was a little bit very important for me and it falls in the context of the difficulty of dating. I think, and I don't know if you agree, that, between love and lust and casual sex, everything was badly promoted through storytelling in modern day time, whether in movies like Sex and the City, books like 50 Shades of Grey, TV, everything. It's been promoted as this is healthy and this is fun and this is
yeah,
love, this is freedom, this is empowerment. Where, and I remember after the book 50 Shades of Grey, this is when mental health specialists started speaking out. Like casual sex is not healthy. You develop feelings and attachment to someone who's not even
yeah,
available. So they
yeah,
promoted for so many decades love
yeah,
as so many different things. People either quit and didn't want to be in relationships or bother with commitment, or just didn't know how to. Like you
right.
said, didn't know how to try, or that you should try. Like when is enough, or when is no, I haven't tried
Yeah,
enough. I
yeah,
should try.
yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
I
that's
mean, obviously, when you're in an abusive relationship where there's verbal abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, that's bad. Obviously, you don't stick
yes,
it out. Then you try to get away from that as
exactly,
fast as you can.
exactly.
So
That's a
that
good
is never
question.
acceptable. Yeah, yeah,
And we'll be
yeah.
talking more about abusive relationships in different shows that we've said that we'll be discussing. Thank you everyone for watching us. Katrin, thank you. And I
Yes,
wanted to,
thank you
before
again.
leaving, one final note, please subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and I'm gonna write there our Instagram and Facebook pages. Follow us there because our next show is in March around the International Women's Day theme. We have two shows on that, but until then, we're going to be engaging and posting as much as possible, both Katrina and I, on Instagram, on Facebook. So it would be good to stay in touch and send us any thoughts or comments. We hope you enjoyed our discussion today, and we hope that you get to join us next time. Again, thanks
Yes.
everyone, and
Thank you, Ninar.
sure, bye.
Bye. Bye.